Hello, I'm Caroline Searcy. Welcome to a new week of Bred to Win, coming to you from beautiful Arrowfield Stud, where we'll unveil their exciting new champion 2-year-old Vandeek, winner of the French Golden Slipper, the Prix Morny, and more. You may have heard of National Thoroughbred Week across Australia and New Zealand in November. So what exactly is it and how can you get involved? We'll have all the answers coming up later in the show. And two adorable Huskies at Fernrigg Farm in Stud Dogs of Australasia, thanks to Cambridge Stud. First though, spring racing is really cranking up in wintry conditions around Australia. Let's see the highlights in our Aushorse News. After a week of intense rain, Randwick Racecourse again proved its incredible draining capabilities as a full card of wonderful racing was completed successfully on a heavy 10.
Via Sistina in front from Aliana.
The highlight, the Group 1 Wink Stakes, saw the return of champion Cox Plate winning mare Via Sistina, and the Northern Hemisphere bred daughter of Fastnet Rock was determined in her attitude and action as she notched up Group 1 win number 10. Yulong's now 8-year-old mare will shortly be crowned Australia's Horse of the Year, and she looks on target for another successful campaign. From the Galileo mare Nye and bred on the great Fastnet Galileo Cross, she was bought by Yulong at the 2023 Tattersalls December Mares Sale in the UK. Saturday's success took her earnings to over $13.4 million.
Now Autumn Glow, she's starting to open up the shoulders, and here she comes.
The other major attraction on the day was the return of the unbeaten, now 4-year-old mare, the magnificent Autumn Glow, in the Dali Toy Show quality. Despite the Arrowfield Stallion Parade clashing with the race return of their star filly, there was only one place John Massara was going to be on Saturday. As a daughter of 5-time Group 1 winner and outstanding stallion prospect the Autumn Sun, the mare took her record to 5 wins from 5 starts. A magnificent yearling at Silverdale Farm, she was bred by Newhaven Park, who sold her as a weanling before Massara and the Arrowfield team combined with Hermitage Thoroughbreds to buy her for $1.8 million at the 2023 Inglis Easter Yearling Sale. Autumn Glow is a 3-quarter sister to Golden Rose winner and young sire in the Congo. Having missed last season through injury, the Autumn Sun was one of the highlights of the weekend's Arrowfield Stud Open Days, especially after the deeds of his 3 Group 1 winning 3-year-olds last season, ATC Oaks winner Autumn Angel, SA Derby winner Coco Sun and Australasian Oaks winner Vibrant Sun.
Within the law of the last shot at them, but Savvy Halley a length in front.
The Group 2 feature on the program, the Silver Shadow Stakes, was won by a daughter of Yarraman Park Studs, Hellbent, from a rich New Zealand family, as Savvy Halley took the honours for Brad Widdop. The filly's Grand Dam is a daughter of New Zealand Oaks winner Savannah Success, Dam in turn of Cox Plate winner and champion New Zealand sire Savabeel. Bred by Jerry Harvey and sold by Barramal as a $150,000 Magic Millions weanling to Belmont Bloodstock, she was then on-sold at last year's Inglis Classic sale by Riverstone Lodge to Brad Hunt's BK Racing and Breeding. Hellbent stands alongside his champion sire I Am Invincible at Yarraman Park this season at a fee of $38,500. The Group 3 Premier's Cup over 2,000 metres was won by the daughter of former Coolmore shuttler Calix, Nellie Laylax, for Annabelle Neesham and Rob Archibald. Racing in the colours of great industry contributors Carl and Lorraine Holt, the 5-year-old gelding is from a High Chaparral mare, while his sire by Kingman stood at Coolmore Stud for only 2 seasons in 2020 and 2021. And it was a Saturday Stakes winning Snitzel double in Sydney and Melbourne. At Randwick, Lazura won the Group 3 Show County quality, being from the Japanese-bred Heart's Cry mare Laguna Azura. The 4-year-old mare was a $500,000 Magic Millions yearling, sold by Arrowfield Stud to Ricky Serace's B2B Thoroughbreds. And at Moonee Valley in Melbourne, Snitzel's son Barrakiel, a 3-quarter brother to ATC Oaks winner Autumn Angel, was successful in the listed Carline Cup, having also been sold by Arrowfield through Magic Millions in 2020.
And here's Cafe Millennium.
A Piero Plate winner at 2 and 3rd in a Randwick Guineas. Cafe Millennium, still racing in the Ron Finnemore colours, having moved to Victoria, and the Hay Stable was a stakes winner in the Adelaide feature at Morfettville on Saturday. The Leon McDonald McDonald Stakes, formerly the Penny Edition Stakes. A giant son of Not a Single Doubt, the now 5-year-old gelding is from the High Chaparral mare Veloce Fort.
But it's Ass 4 in front, deep inside the furlong.
And wrapping up a successful weekend for the Australian breeding industry, our current global sprinting flag bearer, the Henry Dwyer-trained Asphora, won another Group 1 in the UK after her success last year in the King Charles III Sprint at Royal Ascot. The daughter of Flying Artie won the Nunthorpe Stakes at York, won by former star sprinters Batash, Pivotal, Oasis Dream and our own Hortensia in 2012. Asphora was the first foal of the I Am Invincible mare Golden Child. Flying Artie now stands at Victoria's Blue Gum Farm at a fee of $11,000 and is also sire of dual Group 1 winner and exciting young stallion Artorias. Arrowfield Stud Supremo John Massara has had an enormous influence on the Australian thoroughbred breed, standing a number of champion sires here at Arrowfield's base in the Hunter Valley of New South Wales. He's also taken great delight in his outcross ventures, bringing some of the best international bloodlines to Australia. In 2025, Arrowfield's new boy Vandeek gives broodmare owners a chance to try something new.
Vandeek by Havana Grey from Mosa Mine, joining us from Cheveley Park Stud in England.
John, Arrowfield Stud, here we are, we're approaching another breeding season and obviously the foals are arriving on the ground and exciting to have a new stallion, a really interesting horse this one in Vandeek.
Yes, Caroline, he's an exciting horse, a champion 2-year-old in England, brilliantly fast horse and something different for Arrowfield, but we're really excited by him and he's been very well received by all the breeders.
It's Ramatuel, she's in front, she holds at the 100, coming at her is Vandeek.
The 2-year-old form around the world, it really does stand up, doesn't it? I mean, we know how great Australian sprinters are and Australian 2-year-old form, but when we see a winner of a Prix Morny, you know, that is like the Australian or the French Golden Slipper, but he came out, you know, he's an unbeaten dual Group 1 winning champion 2-year-old. That translates across the world.
Absolutely, and we've seen 2-year-old form here translates to stallion success as well. Those races that he won in the UK are probably the equivalent of the Golden Slipper and the Blue Diamond. And a horse like that, if he was in Australia, would be probably standing at 5 times the fee that this horse is. So I think he's exceptional value, but he's a great prospect.
He's a stunning horse. We'll talk about his race record first and then investigate Havana Grey, his sire. But he won at Nottingham. He was dominant in the Richmond Stakes at Goodwood. And obviously, you know, that's been a high-class race, producing a lot of very good horses over the years.
Yeah, some great horses have come out of the Richmond Stakes. He backed up quickly after his debut to win that. It was very impressive. And not long after went straight to France for the Group 1. So he was a horse that came out of the Breeze Up sale. He was a top-priced horse at the Breeze Up sale, and it's unusual for a horse to come out of the Breeze Ups and then go to the races and perform so well, so quickly like he did. But I think it just highlights what a natural horse he was. And when you see him, he's just a magnificent physical. He's a ball of muscle and he was just an immediate horse. And I think that's what's exciting about him as a prospect, as a stallion prospect.
It was a crack field of 2-year-olds. It always is. You know, the Prix Morny is full of elite 2-year-olds at Deauville.
Yes, and he beat an outstanding filly, Ramatuel, who we actually saw sold at Keeneland last year. I think she made $5.5 million. And she subsequently won a Group 1 very impressively on Arc Day. So he beat a top-class field there. He did it really impressively, and probably on ground that didn't quite suit him. It was slightly on the softish side. Subsequently, we saw that he was much better really on the hard, firm track, which he struck in the Middle Park.
And Vandeek has shown a sparkling turn of foot here in the Middle Park.
And again, the Middle Park Stakes in the UK has been won by some of Europe's most influential future stallions, of course.
Yeah, it has, and it's no doubt, I mean, those sort of races, those horses that can win those high-class 2-year-old races, Group 1 races, inevitably turn out to be top-class race horses throughout their entire career and have gone on to be great stallion success.
Well, he had an interrupted start to his 3-year-old career, but of course he was third in the July Cup as well.
Yes, he did. There was one hiccup after another at the start of his 3-year-old career. He was famously beaten at long odds on in his first start on a very wet track, which he didn't appreciate. Nonetheless, he got to the July Cup, notwithstanding that he'd had that interrupted preparation. It was nonetheless an outstanding performance. And of course, we're reminded that Danehill ran third in the July Cup under similar circumstances in his year, I think 40 odd years prior to that. So let's hope history repeats itself.
And of course he was named champion European colt as a 2-year-old, you know, I mean, and you're stretching across obviously the Group 1 in France, and that is some of the world's best racing.
Absolutely. And look, when you're champion anywhere, you're obviously very good, but to be champion of Europe, and we know how good the form is there. We've seen the horses come out and compete here, you know, even in the races like the Golden Eagle, won the last couple, those sorts of horses. You're dealing with world-class form, and he was at the top of the tree.
As they come inside the final half furlong, but it's still Havana Grey with the lead.
Now, Havana Grey, his sire, so a lot of people will be saying, well, hang on, who's Havana Grey? He won the National Stakes himself. Tell us about him and what he's done since.
Well, he's been quite the revelation. He started at a lowly fee, I think £6,500 or something like that, but he's just a machine at producing these fast, precocious, early horses. He's had, I think, up to 28 stakes winners or something now. He's remarkable. He's been a remarkable success. He's not a big horse. He's not as big as Vandeek is at all, but he's been an absolute revelation. Now I think he's up to £100,000 on a restricted book, and he's just been an absolute marvel.
Yeah, and Europe's leading first, second and third season sire. Incredible.
And going ahead in leaps and bounds now that his stock are coming through off better mares, you'll see him accelerate that success, I'm sure. I mean, even off one of his lower fees, he had horses the breeze up made over 3 million Australian dollars. So that's what the market thinks of Havana Grey in Europe and in England in particular.
Havana Grey's grandsire is Teofilo. Now, of course, we know what he's done. Of course, he had the Danehill Galileo Cross and sire of Happy Clapper, Kermadec Humidor, Melbourne Cup winners Twilight Payment Without a Fight. You know, an Exceed and Excel mare too from the family of Anabar. So there are all these ticks, aren't there, that, you know, you're the pedigree experts here at Arrowfield. You've looked at and worked out how you're going to match your mares to him on that pedigree.
Yeah, well, we really like all those factors. I mean, the Teofilo factor is important. He's a very underrated influence in a pedigree, particularly as this sire line, but also as a broodmare sire. And as you say, Exceed and Excel, well, you know, he's been a magnificent stallion, great servant to Darley and Godolphin. We particularly like the fact that there's a really high-class stallion in Anabar in his female line, and that's something that we'll look to duplicate with the mares that we send to Vandeek. We'll be looking for mares that have Anabar in their pedigree and double up on that family, which is a great Alec Head family. So yeah, there's lots of angles there that we like. And Exceed and Excel, I think, is the horse that adds that super precocity to Vandeek and, you know, I think to his offspring as well. Of course, we were really excited to watch Royal Ascot this year when Vandeek's half-brother Gestart brilliantly won the Coventry Stakes by 5 or 6 lengths. It was really impressive. He's a Star-Spangled Banner, so there's another angle and reinforces our idea that this would be a good cross. The Danehill line cross would be good for Vandeek.
What were the first thoughts between yourself and John Massara, the whole team, on first sight of this horse? I
flew over to have a look at him in the UK. And I was really impressed with him. He hadn't been out of training that long. He's now only 4.5 or just a 4-year-old European time. But he's a beautifully well-made horse. Got good leg about him, a magnificent rein, which you'll see, and a beautiful head, full of quality, great walk to him, a really athletic horse, really fast horse's hind leg. Just a really quality, elegant, you know, animal. Couldn't help but be impressed by him. Chris Richardson, the manager at Cheveley Park, is likewise full of praise for the horse. He thinks he's one of the nicest horses that they've had there, and they've had many successful stallions over the years, Pivotal most notably. He's a horse that will impress, really fill the eye, and I'm sure people, when they come to see him and see him in the flesh, will be completely enamoured with him as we are.
There's such a saturation, particularly here at Arrowfield, the Redouts, the Schnitzels, the Not a Single Doubts through to the Autumn Sun. So much of that in your broodmare pool now. What sorts of pedigrees, obviously the Anabar, as you mentioned, but what other sort of horses would match up well with him on pedigree?
Well, we're certainly going to put a number of our Schnitzel mares to him. I like that cross, and I like the type of physical that most of our Schnitzel mares are to complement Vandeek. So he'll be getting a number of those. We've got a few I'm Invincible mares, which I think will suit him. But generally the fast mares that we've got, you know, the Schnitzel Redout's Choice, Not a Single Doubt, Hassanet. I think he's going to add that necessary leg and scope to some of those mares. You know, we're really excited. We're going to send him a number of really high-class mares with quite a few Group winners and a couple of Group 1 winners are going to him. So we'll be supporting him really strongly. We'll endeavour to give him the best opportunity that we can. It's something new and a little bit different, and I think that will be one of his strengths in coming into the gene pool that's available here. It's always interesting to have a new horse and always exciting, and the great anticipation I suppose will come next year when we see his first foals on the ground.
He is just a stunning stallion, and I can't wait to see the first foals of Vandeek this time next year. Coming up after the break on Bred to Win, we hear from Ty Ryan about November's exciting National Thoroughbred Week around Australia and New Zealand. This segment of Bred to Win brought to you by Barristock, trusted by Australia's leading studs and backed by Kentucky Equine Research. Horses come first. After the racing and breeding industry successfully opened its doors in England and Ireland, Australia and New Zealand have now come together to develop National Thoroughbred Week in November. The aim is to show the great care taken with our thoroughbreds, opening the doors of racing stables, stud farms and other operations to the general public. Ty, National Thoroughbred Week is such a fascinating new concept in Australia. Of course, it's been done overseas, but it is really wonderful to see people being encouraged to come out and see racing stables, stud farms around Australia and New Zealand in November. Tell us a bit more about, how this came to be within Australasia.
Yes, Caroline. So National Thoroughbred Week is a new initiative for here in Australia and New Zealand. It was inspired from the group involved with the Together for Racing International and is based on the UK's really successful National Racehorse Week and New Zealand's Open Farms. Basically, both of those events opened up their doors to the industry for the general public, and so we're doing that here this November.
Yeah, November 20 to 24. So let's talk firstly about what everybody behind this is looking for from stud farms. Obviously, being Bred to Win, a breeding show, we'll touch on that first. So the idea is, I guess, for people that don't really understand what goes on behind the scenes, to be able to get up close to not only the horses but the staff and really understand what goes on, to make racing happen.
Absolutely, and it's a way for people to get involved and get that hands-on, tangible experience. We can talk about it, you can see things online, but unless you're in there and you're experiencing it, we've all seen footage of Graham Salisbury and Sub-Zero and the effect that they have on people, and the National Thoroughbred Week will help enhance that as well. Kids can get up close and personal patting foals, they can learn about the equipment, how things are done, feeding processes, farriers, vets, all those sort of things, and really learn and get that hands-on, tangible experience.
And you've had a really good response from within, as I said, starting with the breeding industry.
We have, absolutely. So we've got, at the moment, hosts pretty much all locked in across Australia, from the likes of Godolphin, Arrowfield, Rosemont and Swettenham down in Melbourne. We've got Cambridge Stud in New Zealand, and we've got more coming on board as well. And it's not just the breeding, the breeders, we do have a lot of trainers coming involved, turf clubs, race clubs, farriers and jockeys put their hands up as well to say they want to be part of it.
So the more places that are available, I guess, people are familiar with racetracks, but they perhaps haven't been down and seen the stables. In Melbourne and every other capital, there are people, and New Zealand as well, that you're really wanting them to open their doors.
And it's a way for people to have that opportunity to get in and to take that step in to that inner sanctum area. You know, it's not every day that you get to go behind the scenes and chat directly with a trainer or a staff member of a horse and find out not only, you know, what the horse's daily routine is like, but what the staff do, and then you know, you can learn about career opportunities as well through that, not just the horse itself.
The career paths within the racing and breeding industry are astronomical, and often it just takes, you know, people that may not have been brought up with horses, that one moment when they're young where they go and they get close to a horse and it looks them in the eye and they get to smell it and touch it, and that can change their lives.
Absolutely, and that's such a good point too. I think we can get trapped in our bubble, especially if we're around racing whole time. Like for myself, I'm 5th generation racing, so I do sometimes forget that, like what you said, that experience of what it's like to touch a horse. We take it for granted, but to be able to open up our doors and let everyone else into that and experience what we get to experience the love, the thrills, the excitement, and that beautiful connection that you get with the horse.
And then of course the careers side, you know, the actual jobs that are available in this industry are phenomenal. They're massive.
Oh, absolutely. Anything from being a stable hand to a farrier, a vet, a chiropractor, to your administration, sales, marketing. Oh gosh, the list is so long, you know, track work riders, jockeys, trainers, the beautiful staff that we have here on a race day that, you know, look after the owners' rooms, that look after the jockeys. You know, there literally is something for everyone in this industry. And it is such a big industry, both here and in New Zealand. There really is something for everyone.
You know, people are really aware of the fact that animals must be not only seen to be looked after, they must be looked after to the highest of standards. And opening the doors of, you know, the way these animals are looked after, these thoroughbreds, really does help, you know, anyone that may not be a fan of racing or might think it's all about wagering or it's all about drinking or whatever. If they come and see these horses, it does have an effect on them and their opinion of the industry.
Absolutely, and I think negativity and misinformation can spread so quickly, and you can counteract with a tweet or another post or a comment. I think, you know, the Kick Up for Racing Hub has done so much work in terms of that resource and that education piece for us, but unless you're going looking for that, it's not always out there. And even though it's great to have those resources, National Thoroughbred Week is that next step to further the welfare message that we are trying to get out to the wider community.
What are the next steps? So in terms of if people wanted to register to open up their stable, their stud farm, their racing business, what do they do? And what do people do if they want to actually come along? Where can they go to find out more?
Yeah, so we've got a website, thoroughbredweek.com.au. So if you are looking to host, or if you're from a smaller business and you want to partner with a group of people, you know, get together your local businesses and create an event, more than happy to do that as well. So jump on the website, thoroughbredweek.com.au, register to be a host, or register as a sponsor. If you don't want to open your doors but you still want to get involved, we're definitely open for sponsorship opportunities as well. So you can register for that, and then our team will be in touch with you to sort that out. We will then be launching to the general public probably early October, and then that way you can register, you can see where all the events are that are happening in your local area, sign up to attend. It is free to attend, and it's also free for hosts to be involved. Yeah, so all the information will be on the website.
Yeah, it's going to be a great week. November 20 to 24, right around Australia and New Zealand.
That's it, we're looking forward to it.
It'll be a magnificent few days for the racing and breeding industry in November. Coming up after the break on Bred to Win, thanks to Cambridge Stud, we visit two gorgeous, massive Huskies belonging to Ray Louise and Podrick Kelly of Fernrigg Farm in the hugely popular stud dogs of Australasia.
Nubis and Coco, we've had them for 8 years. We actually owned their full brother, but unfortunately we lost him in an accident. And it was during the time of the Magic Million on farm parades, and I was very upset. And one day Gay Waterhouse came and she turned around to Podrick and said, just stop the girl crying and get her 2 more dogs. So then here we go, Anubis and Coco appeared for Christmas and we've never looked back.
They fitted right in as farm dogs. They were up to plenty of mischief when they were younger. We couldn't take our eyes off them, but they loved coming around with me, looking at the foals in the paddock. They'd come back to the crush in the morning when we were doing the vetting and sit there watching. And I actually noticed this girl in particular, Coco, when I was doing the screw surgeries on her own foals, she'd love to come into the knockdown box and watch and lie with the foals while they're recovering. And as soon as the foal gets back up, back out she comes. It was a lovely, kind nature by her. I was very impressed by her.
They've been fantastic dogs for our children. The day we brought Eloise home, both of them were very inquisitive, and again, their nature inside kicked in, and they've never left the girls aside. They always come on the feed run. They've always been on the feed run since they were tiny puppies, and now the children fit in the back of the gator with them. Anubis has always had her spot in the front seat, but Coco shares the back with the two children.
Coco and Anubis, they're both sisters. They get on really well together. We're probably very fortunate having two Huskies, that we have a nice big property for them to roam around and express themselves. They're very good with the kids, with the animals. All the staff love them, but it's great the fact sometimes two siblings don't get on brilliantly, but the two of these, from day dot, they've been brilliant together, and we love having them.
They absolutely love having all the staff around, and especially everybody riding horses, because they get to go on 6 to 8K ride every day, which it just saves me having to walk as well, and they absolutely love it. They love keeping up with the horses, and yeah.
Magnificent dogs, and great to see so many beloved canine companions at our beautiful Thoroughbred studs. That's it for this week on Bred to Win. Join me again next week as we visit the Southern Highlands of New South Wales and see how the breeding industry is attracting new people to the region for work and a great lifestyle. That and much more next week. I'm Caroline Searcy. I look forward to seeing you then.